Given that we are in the middle of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collaboration, I'm assuming we have a whole bunch of new players, so I think it might just be time for the 2025 updated Fire Knight's Castle guide. Fire Knight's Castle is one of the best dungeons to farm gear because you can get Savage, Stun, and Regen, all great pieces, but crit damage and shield isn't too bad either. Moral of the story when we're facing the Fire Knight is that the Fire Knight has a shield. It's got so many marks that you have to do, and so that means I have to hit the Fire Knight that many times before I can even begin to start to do damage or place any debuffs on him. Once I have this shield broken down, the yellow bar is the turn meter, and we want to keep that as low as possible using a variety of different strategies. It's different for normal as it is for hard. So here in a variety of teams, what you're looking for is champions that are going to hit more than one time on their A1, and then also champions that are going to ally attack the team, so everybody is going in to help contribute to breaking the shield. Once the shield is broke, ideally you're just really looking for two things that decrease the turn meter like we have here, and then placing a decreased speed on the boss. For more advanced teams, looking for things like decrease defense and weaken additionally to make sure that the damage that we're doing is increased so we're killing the boss as fast as possible is also pretty important, but not necessary. Do you want to follow along with your own raid journey? Well, here is the start for you. Click the link in the description to get a free Karato, as well as the epics Anax, Uugo, and Mausoleum Mage. Here's what you need to do. Log out of Plarium and Play on PC and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch raid and complete the tutorial, and then go into your inbox and claim your first champion. Click the link in the description now before it expires. So let's talk about the basics of what we have to do to get you to build your first Fire Knight team. Just so you know, when you're in your team collection, you can click on this filter button here, go down, and you can look for a variety of different things, including the different buffs, debuffs, and effects that we can have. So if we're looking for ally attacking champions, we can go into positive effects, and we can choose ally attack, and every champion that you own that has an ally attack is going to pop up. Same with decreased turn meter, that is going to be available in the negative effects, and you can see all the champions that you have that in their kit to some extent. As you progress through the normal Fire Knight, essentially you're just going to want to get your team to be faster, more accurate, and being able to deal more damage, obviously. But it looks like, according to hellhades.com, that every stage speed is about 100, so you want to make sure your teams are exceeding probably 200 speed. Additionally, the accuracy needed to land each debuff is basically going to be 10 times the stage level that you're on. So if you're trying to farm stage 21, 21 times 10 is 210. You're going to want to have at least 210 accuracy, probably a little bit above that. Here's an example of a team that might be able to get you through the normal stages, and I'm going to highlight all the important things that I have chosen from this team as why I chose them. Deacon, there's a few things. He's got a speed aura to make sure that our starting speed is higher, but then really it comes down to this ability in combination with his second ability. His A3 is going to fill the turn meters of all allies by 15% and decrease the turn meters of all enemies by 15%. So it's going to ensure that we're going faster and they're going slower. That's exactly what we want. Alert is kind of one of those champions that's like tough to replace, I guess, but her A1 attacks 3 times at random, so it's a triple hitter right off the bat. That's great, but each hit is going to decrease the turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. So assuming that our crit rate is at 100 or higher, and our accuracy is at the appropriate level, she is going to decrease the turn meter of the Fire Knight. The Fat Man's really only bringing one thing, and that's his ally attack. So consider this: place a 30% increased crit rate and a 30% increased crit damage on all allies except for this champion for 3 turns. Then all allies except for this champion will attack one target enemy. So really what's happening is Deacon's using his A1, Allur's bringing his A1, Coldheart's bringing her A1, and Yakarl's bringing his. So that's a lot of hits right off the bat that are going to decrease the shield of the boss. As far as Coldheart, the big thing is that her A1 is going to hit 4 times at random, so that's a quad hitter that's going to break the shield real fast. But then additionally, the Heartseeker is going to not only hit really hard because it says enemy max HP here, but also if it's a critical hit, it's going to decrease the turn meter by 100%, assuming I have the accuracy. This particular Coldheart does not have the accuracy requirements, so that decreased turn meter is probably not going to happen. And then Yakarl is bringing a few different things. Most importantly, his A2 is going to attack one enemy and has 100% after its book chance of putting a decreased speed out on the Fire Knight, and then also a freeze, but that's not going to happen. But then also additionally is going to steal 100% of the target's turn meter and place place 30% increased speed on him. But he's also there to help take down the waves because he's got an AoE that has a 100% chance of freezing everybody, as well as it's kind of hard hitting. So he's a really, really good champion to have for the Fire Knight. You may be asking yourself, that's a void legendary. Why would I ever put this into a starter guide? Well, if you go into the clan shop, it isn't available for me now because I've already got him, but if you click on the item pool, and he's probably available for you, in the 7th slot, which isn't too difficult to obtain, you can actually get your Carl fragments, and you can get 5 in a week, and so you can save up, I think, handful, like 750 clan gold a week will get you all 5 of those fragments, and you can start to get him slowly but surely. Now, Allure is particularly important to this team, and I want you to know that it doesn't mean that she's not replaceable, though. We can actually turn off legendaries and just go epics and rares only, and there are going to be a variety of different champions, like Ruella is also going to be a champion that does something similar on her A1. It's going to only steal 5%, but it's better than nothing. There are also other champions that take 100% of the turn meter, like a Soulbound or a Geomancer. I'm not really going to bother to go over the stats of these champions because they're champions that have already had geared and is probably beyond any beginner account at this point. But keep in mind, you just want well over 200 speed for the normal mode of this. And then I'm on stage 25, which is the hardest level of normal. And what you're going to want is at minimum 250 accuracy to make sure you're landing the decreased defenses and the turn meter suppressions and the decreased speed. A really underrated part of this also for beginners is it going over here, clicking your team setup, and then actually going through the team setup, because you want to consider some things. We know on the 3rd round that we need to break the shield first. So to be able to do that, we want to make sure we're using multi-hitters right off the bat. So Deacon, we're going to use his A2 right away. The Fat Man, we're going to use his beatdown right away. So to make sure that that is happening, that means in round 2, I got to go and turn it off to make sure that I have it available right away when we start the fight against the boss. So somebody like Allure, where we only care about her A1, we don't have to do anything with her abilities. So in round 3, we got to turn on for A2 and A3, so we know that we're only using the A1 because that's the only ability that we care about. Similarly with Coldheart, like we don't really care about the middle ability, so we can turn that off. But she can just kind of go in whatever order because we're really only using our Heartseeker as a way to deal a lot of damage really fast. Additionally, with Yakarl in this, like Glaciate is not really needed against this boss, and we do want the Blizzard Rider to be the primary thing he uses, but again, we need to make sure that the shield is broken first, so we're going to open up with the A1, prioritize the A2, and turn the A3 off. But that also means that we have to have the Blizzard Rider turned off in the previous round so we know we have it available right away. I would actually say that using presets against the Fire Knight more so than some of the other dungeons is absolutely necessary. So here what we're just going to see is just the champions doing their abilities, but really the only thing I want to point out is that Yakarl is really the one there to kind of clear the waves and also freeze them. As you can see that he did a pretty good job of freezing most of the champions there. He's going to be the one kind of carrying you through the waves, and so you also want to consider that in your team. Don't have your entire team focused on just beating the boss because you do have to beat 2 waves of champions first. Okay, and then once you get to the boss, we're just making sure, are we breaking the shield in the order that we want it to? It looks like so far so good. We're doing our ally attack, shield's gonna go down, and then hopefully we're just looking for the decreasing of turn meter as well as the decreased speed, and that's really the biggest thing. And then this team should just be a successful win. Might take a little bit of time, but we should get there. Once we get to hard mode, things change quite a bit. The speed of the boss is significantly faster. For reference, when you're in hard stage 1, it speeds 105, and at stage 10, it's 250. So you're probably going to want a champion well into the 300s, and then all the champions need to be well over 250 at this point. Additionally, the amount of hits that you have to do to be able to break the shield is like 21 on stage 10, and your accuracy levels to apply debuffs or decrease turn meters is going to be needing to be over 350 for sure. But speaking of turn meter, you can't just use regular turn meter suppression. Abilities like Allure's A1 that decreases the turn meters no longer work. The only way to actually decrease the turn meter is once the shield is down is actually apply a freeze debuff. So if you want to know what champions do freeze, you can do the same champion filter. You can go in here and we can look for freezes. There's really only a few champions that are like really effective for this. The absolute menace of this is definitely going to be Newt. Newt is one of the most sought after champions because his A1 is a 3-hitter, so that's still really important. But each hit is going to put a freeze, so that's going to decrease the turn meter of the boss. But then additionally, his A3 is one of the biggest hitting abilities in the entire game. So if you have a Newt, he is there specifically for the Fire Knight. If you don't have a Newt, it can be done through champions like Neldor, because Neldor has a 3-hitter and each has a 40% chance of placing a freeze, which obviously isn't as good as the 100% that Newt brings. There are some much less than ideal champions like a Darendil who's got a 2-hitter freeze on his A1, or a Cryodan who I guess is a reasonable option as well. Attacks one enemy 3 times and each hit has a 25% chance of placing a freeze, but then does have an A2 that has a higher percent chance of placing a freeze. But your core concept of the team should be roughly the same. Go as fast as you can with as much accuracy as you can get in there at least 350. Attack with ally attackers, get a decreased speed out there, and then start placing your freezes. Since the speed of the Fire Knight is so high, I highly recommend having 2 champions who are going to bring ally attacks in. So for me, it's Lady Mikage, free to everybody, and then Queen of Hearts, not free for everybody. Lady Mikage is particularly good for the Fire Knight because you can swap to her alternate form, and her alternate form is going to freeze the waves, so you really don't have to worry about the waves. You may not clear them fast, but this ability is going to allow you to basically get through the waves without having any issue at all. And then in the third round, you can swap back to her other form that actually has the ally attack. Given that the Fire Knight hard goes so much faster, it is important that you have a strong speed aura as well. And as you can see with this, all my champions are hovering close to the 300 mark. Not all of them though. Within this team, it's also really important that you have the increased speed also, because you're not going to have the speed lead. Your champions are already faster, but then you're going to get an extra 30% speed when you place that buff on all of your champions. So not only do you need the decreased speed on the Fire Knight, you also really need the increased speed on your team. Your team can kind of be a glass cannon to some extent, because theoretically you're never getting hit in any of the waves, because Mikage is going to flip to her spider form and stun everybody. And then on the Fire Knight, if you're doing this right, it's never taking a turn. So your team can be a little bit more fragile, assuming that you can hit the speed levels here. Again, I don't really have a whole lot of great replacements for Newts besides the epics that I talked about before, but those are realistically less than ideal. In a situation like that, those epics that I gave, you probably want at least 2 of them available, because the A1 freezes are less consistent than Newt. So here you can see that my Mikage metamorphed and then stunned the waves, and so this is what's allowing us to basically free roll right through the waves and don't have to worry really about getting hit at all. Keep in mind that I did the same concept with presets. I thought about like what abilities do I want to happen in what sequence, and then I set the priorities up so they do or do not use certain abilities on certain waves. On the first wave, I just let them go. But like on the second wave, I'm not really letting Yakarl use his A2, which is the decreased speed ability, and then Mikage and Queen of Hearts are not using their ally attacking abilities on this wave at all. But again, you can see I stunned them, and so I can just get through the waves. I really like the ally attack approach, because what will happen is Newt, or whoever your freeze champions are, keep in mind Yakarl does freeze also, so he's bringing some decreased turn meter as well. But once I get the shield down, the boss is still pretty fast, and so the ally attacks allow me to get in there and decrease the turn meter with my Newt additionally on top of what he's already providing. So you can see that the turn meter of the boss was getting close, but we cycled back around to our ally attack, and that allowed me to get extra hits in for freeze down there. So I really feel that the ally attack method is the best for you if you're not going to take any hits at all. And hopefully at the end of the run, you get better than 5-star rare boots. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you on the other side.